This video is going to be the biggest, the hugest what if type of video I have ever made. I'm going back to my roots. I'm going to do what I believe I'm good at, thinking out the box to try and bring together all thoughts, all theories that we have on topics. I'll be talking about time, eternity, yes, even Janus. I'll be talking about star thoughts, not in a huge great deal, but you know, I'm going to mention about star thoughts, mudflood. Why is it? Why do we have it? I'll be talking about what people talk about, melted buildings and different things like this. Why do they live up in the mountains? All this is going to be in this video. I'm going to be talking about tartaria, advanced tech. I'm trying to formulate a theory which I could combine all of these theories and put them together in something that just makes sense to me. Giants. Why do we have giants? Cryptoids. The animals I call medieval monsters. All this I want to try and get into one video, and that is a task upon itself. I'll be touching on it, spiritual type of video topics in this, religious type of topics, answers that I could maybe find to help me in formulate this theory. We talk about resets. We see films, TV, you name it, showing you the demise of the population, and we always talk about it. It's nothing new under the sun. We're talking about sinkholes, the increasing number of sinkholes that is happening on this plane. So yes, if some people might get disappointed in making this, but I'm making it for me, and hopefully you guys can appreciate why I have to put all this together, bring in other models that people believe in, like flat earth, concave, and formulate maybe something new to think about. And yes, you can call it bollards, as I say. I see synchronicities all the time. Just like this quote, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. Now I'm making this video, which I've been doing for a week and so. I know I'm getting slower. People send me stuff all the time, and Mark Fewins, aka System Failure 1 to 25, whatever he calls himself, sent me this. Oh, do you know this? And I am actually working on the video, and obviously I know it as Dante's Inferno, and I've covered it being the why and other things in old videos. But as I'm working on this video, and I'm taking a theory I've had in my mind for so long to another level, people always talk about, well, heaven has many layers. There's supposed to be 7 heavens in different cultures and and religions. And here is a picture of the heavens. Now, what if you put both together? The different layers of a heaven are different layers of hell. It represents an hourglass, Tempus, Fugit, otherwise known as time flies. And this is why I want to do this video, just to show you. I mean, look at the artist Banksy. From the moment despair ends and tactics begin, look, in a hand holding an extinction logo. Is it any coincidence that the extinction logo is an hourglass and shares its picture with Tempus Fugit? Just look at the new logo. It even has a Y for the youth. Does that look familiar? Have I not just showed you? So in this video, I'm going to show you stuff like this. Banksy's photo of Earth sliding down. Could it be how they're fallen? I just want to theorise that the different layers that is underneath us have just slid there from reset after reset. And where we are, we're at the neck. We're in the middle. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you more and more to back my theory up. Right guys, so what you're seeing here, you should be seeing me in a little box in amongst the pictures, and you just saw Dante's Inferno, that we all know it. But I've had this long-standing theory for years, and I mean years, I can't remember how long it is. And I've always designed different layouts of this realm just because I love to theorise, and I love to brainstorm, and I love to share ideas to see what triggers. You know, to trigger something in us, and there's good and there's bad triggers. Now what you also should be seeing is various pictures of gravestones and the hourglass with the wings, because obviously we have a fascination with time. Maybe it's bred into us, maybe it's just who we call the man controlling the time. We are slaves to time. Does time even exist? Is it a man-made construct? Is time emit from us, as I've talked about in many videos? But what you can also see is a little drawing of an hourglass that I've just designed for this video, and it has heaven above, so many layers of heaven above, and so many layers of hell below. And this is what I'm going to try and get at this video, to amalgamate all theories to see if this idea works. Listen, it could be a load of bollards, as I said. Yes, there's nothing wrong with thinking and trying to share ideas, because you don't know what it'll hit in someone who will break the mould, as they say, and help, you know, more and more people. So this is what we're here to do. We're here to think and share ideas and see what sticks and see what slides off. But in the idea of my theory is that we have our realm in the middle, in the neck, as they say, of the hourglass. Hell below, heaven above. Now, maybe in times when we sin too much, or there's too much evil, you know, I'm just trying to theorise in this video that at certain times when the trumpets go or the hourglass shakes, we lose a layer, it goes down. And because we're seeing, you know, we're seeing different layers of civilization, preserve cities under towns. And I'm just wondering, does this what happens? Yes, the hourglass could be symbolic or metaphorical. I mean, it's so weird that we have layers in skin. Our epidermis has different layers of skin. The heavens, the sky has different layers of atmospheres. So does the soil. So in this theory, this is what I'm just trying to get at in this video. I mean, you think about it. We have people who believe in, mudflood and melted mountains, buildings. What they're trying to escape from. If you know the ground is going to give away and swallow you up, you'd want to get onto something hard or higher up. You know, not just from below. You got the alternate. You have what is coming from above. They're trying to get away from in dumbs. So is it the vice versa? If you are good, you're trying to get away from evil, go down to hell. And if you are evil, you're trying to get away from the heavens coming down and going below. It's just ironic, isn't it? And this is what I'm trying to get in this video. Our fascination with time, the hourglass. We also have obviously memento mori, which means remember that you have to die. And even secret societies have lost the symbology of the hourglass with the wings without. You even get it with skulls and crossbones and its association with that. So this is just a lifetime's excitement wanting to come out in a video, and you might laugh. And listen, I get that all the time anyway, but you don't progress. These same people that call you are the same people that'll still be there in 10 years' time going the same old things out of the mouth. You have to talk about things to progress. People don't even realise what right and wrong is. What is the truth? The truth is personal, it is you, but it also can trap you. That's why it has rut in it. So, you know what I mean? Truth does not necessarily mean it's fact. And this is what we have to get in the community. That's why you have gatekeepers putting out false information. Well, it's all information, and that's why I do not get triggered in a bad sense, meaning the spell. So in this video, you were just going to get me theorising, showing these what ifs. What's the fascination? How come this hourglass goes back to ancient times? Is it because that is what we're in, or is it all metaphorically or metaphoric? You know, I am not steadfast. I do not say this is a fact, but I'm so excited about everything I'm tying into this, and it just makes sense. And you will see, hopefully, what I'm seeing, and you will go, wow, because it's all there, from the wine that I've just showed you in Dante's to even the new symbol for the youth, extinction. It's an hourglass, it's Uberos. So that is what you're going to get from this, me theorising on how these are possible, and that's all we can do. Think about ley lines. Why is ley lines there? Why do we have earth, the fault lines? Is it to, like I've always said, is it to the earth breathe? Or is it a system where electromagnetic and energy hits and then certain areas just go poof down? That's an idea, isn't it? I mean, surely we may be able to go up to, because there's talks of floating islands. Who knows, but we'll see what we can get in this video, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So this is why you see me in this little picture, and you see me talk, and above or whatever is going across is all the images. You know, it's not all the images I have, but you know, it's just in this segment. So guys, buckle up and enjoy. Another Masonic symbol, which sometimes appeared on gravestones during the 18th century, was the hourglass, which, though represented mortality, was in certain cases displayed alongside the skull. The hourglass, however, was also linked to alchemy and appeared in many contemporary prints and works of art which covered the theme of alchemy and the Rosicrucianism. The hourglass, though reminding man of his time on earth, could be turned over, letting the sand run again, and therefore given an endless, limitless existence. The shape of the hourglass is also reminiscent of the infinity symbol and is displayed alongside other related symbols such as the scythe, Noah's Ark, and the sprig of acacia in Masonic artwork during the 18th century. The Greek philosopher believed that the time could be defeated, and the metaphysical poets of the 17th century, such as Don, expressed the same ethos in their poetry. Yet a Masonic symbol on the gravestone, the hourglass became disused, like the skull and the crossbones, was replaced by the squirt and compass after unification in 1813. That's interesting, isn't it? The skull and the crossbone and the hourglass were used as Masonic symbols number one. Just thought that was interesting, and here's some more symbols and that from the Masonic, because this is the Masonic section. Right guys. What you're seeing here is a book by Thomas Smith Webb, the author of Freemason's Monitor of Illustrations of Masonry, a book which had a significant impact on the development of the Masonic ritual in America, especially that of the York Rite. And then what can we see here? That you can see in the book itself. But the hourglass is an emblem of human life. Behold how swiftly the sands run, and how rapidly our lives are drawing to a close. We cannot without astonishment behold the little particles which are contained in this machine, how they pass away almost imperceptibly, I can't say that word, and yet to our surprise, in the short space of an hour, they are all exhausted. Thus wastes man. Today he puts forth the tender leaves, and obviously it'll continue on the other page, but as you can see some other hourglass and masonry things. I just want to put this in this little section so you can see. This is a tomb of Pope Alexander VII, made by Bernini. It's in St. Peter's Basilica, and the reason I'm showing you this is because it's known as the Gate of Death. We know who's the god of gateways and doorways, and look, there is the hourglass above the door. Interesting, and at the bottom through that door it goes to the crypt where more popes are kept. So I just thought I had to include this bit because I just thought it was so weird and interesting to show you guys. I couldn't leave it out. So as you can see my hourglass to the left, layers of heaven, we're here, layers of hell. And on the right side you can see Dante's Inferno mirrored, showing you just the same, it's an absolute slam dunk mirror image of a hourglass. Now those with a keen eye will notice obviously we have the electromagnetic field of the heart, and it produces a torus field, which if you look closely is an hourglass shape. So could they be one in the same? And then you have a flat earth under the same scenario. It's an hourglass. And remember, the heart is an anagram of the earth. So the earth would produce a torus field, which could be the hourglass that I'm talking about. I'm not literally, I'm theorising in this video, and I'm leaving it open for you good guys to just look at what I'm coming up with and see what you think. You have, could we literally be in an hourglass, hence all the stuff I'm going to be showing in this, or is it metaphorically, is it allegoric? Who knows? But it's interesting to see all the evidence of what this hourglass figure is showing, and then through society, is it all metaphorically? Who knows? But as you can see, the earth produces an hourglass through electromagnetism. It's the torus field. So I just want to put that with you, see what you think on that. It's not unique, everyone talks about that, so but it's the hourglass again. So guys, what do you think you're seeing here? Now some people say, oh yeah, some sort of torus field like you just shown, or I can see arrows and time, and they're talking about singularity and different things like that. And then you'll see, oh well, yeah, it looks like the hourglass, and it looks like Dante's Inferno mirrored like you've shown it. But guess what this is? And this is where the mind bender and blown goes. This is the Janus Cosmological model. It was made by a Dr. Jean-Pierre Petit, and where it is in the middle, meeting that is supposedly where the Big Bang and multiple universes came out from that. So obviously I'm using this just to show you, isn't it funny that I always do research on Janus and we're talking about 2, 3, 4 faces, and when they're showing the flow of time from the singularity Big Bang, it resembles a torus field but also the hourglass. So I'm just leaving that right there for you to think about, and that is a wow for me. I'm only going to read so much of this because you guys have obviously seen it in various videos. Obviously we know Janus is god of doorways, passageways, beginnings and endings. I've tied him to time, I've tied him to Kronos, I've tied him to Uranus. There's so much, and so much I've tied it to in regard to time. So I don't want to be reading these things out just for this, but I'll just read the top half because the rest of it just goes how they used to give them gold and honey and different things. So two-faced Janus is the Roman god of doorways, passageways and beginnings, endings. The first month of the year plus every first day of every month is named after him. In ancient Rome, Janus was not only the god of beginnings and transitions, but was also associated with war and peace, since the doors of his temple were only open during the war. On New Year Day, it was the Roman tradition to give the god honey, cakes, incense, wine, by favourable signs and guarantee of good luck. Gold brought better results than copper. And this is so interesting because, as you can see now from the picture on the screen, he actually appears on the floor in the Bank of England, and here's the picture. So the poet Ovid asked Janus about the origin and the early benefits conferred by the god, and he says, Janus said, I reigned in the days when gods moved freely in the abodes of men. So talking about abodes means your home, or it comes from abide, meaning waiting as well. So in the abodes of men, but you take that A off and say abodes, and then say it phonetically, bodies of men. And they're talking about how they move freely in the bodies, the vessels of men. And then there you go again, the sin of the mortals had not yet put justice to flight. Sin, well, if you look at the sin and sin waves, if you put both sins together, the sin waves together, in a way it does look like an hourglass. And that is the interesting thing, is the sin wave a time where if we sin too much, and people talk about rapture, hearing the trumpets, is this the sign of a sin wave in the sounds of a sin frequency, and we lose layers or we lose pieces of this realm to hell? It's just an idea that I maybe talk about more later on. So she was the last of the celestials to forsake the earth. So when she forsakes the earth, do we lose a layer? Hence tartaria, mudflood, ancient buildings underneath the ground. I mean, it's not just a case of them being buried. It's like they are like in holes, in caves, yet the ground is perfectly above and below them, and it just looks like layers. And this is why I always talk about this theory about the hourglass, in the sense of when the time is up, we lose a layer. But if you think about it, when you are in a confined area and something unplugs, like the sand coming through a time glass, you will notice it does go concave at the edges. Just a thought, isn't it? Is it when we see this concavity at the edges or in certain places, we know we're going to lose a layer or we get sinkholes. So the last of the celestials forsake the earth. Honour, not fear, ruled the people without appeal to force. I had nothing to do with war. Guardian was I of peace and doorways. Whatever you see, sky, sea, clouds, earth, all things are closed and opened by my hand. The guardianship of this vast universe is in my hands alone, and none but I may rule the wheeling pole. So we're talking about the wheel of life. If you think about it, are we the wheel of life? Because we do move in seasons and move around. People talk about the clock face moving. Is that and the pole in the middle? We're talking about the two poles. Are we talking about an hour clock or an hourglass? I sit at heaven's gate with the gentle hours. Now that's just like, that is the bit when I saw that. I sit at heaven's gate with the gentle hours. My office regulates the goings and the comings of Jupiter himself. Hence Janus, or Janus is my name. Now learn the reason for my shape. Every door has two fronts. One faces the people and the other the house god. And just as your human porter, seated at the threshold of the house, the door, sees who goes and in, so I, the porter of the heavenly court, behold at once both east and west. So you can see how interesting this is when I'm talking about this realm and me talking about Janus controlling the hourglass, and I'm always associated with time. Just leave that way. It's just so interesting, isn't it? I've got another piece to read out for you now. I'll just read this last big paragraph. Janus, therefore, a god of gateways and openings, as well as somewhat demonic entity who, somewhat like Mercury or Hermes, carried messages from the mundane to the divine. The gates of the gods' temples were popped open in times of war, which we know the public reason for this was made into a story involving an early war between the Romans and the Sabines, when Janus was said to have mysteriously opened the Rome's closed gates and sent a torrent of boiling water on the Sabines from his temple, saving the city. Deeper reasons may link to the cult of the afterlife in which both Saturn and Janus played a part. The doors were probably opened to emit souls of the dead warriors to the precincts of the gods. The god's stationary attributes, apart from his two faces, were the rod and his key, denoting measurements of lives, time and space, and the key signifying the unlocking of the thresholds. It was widely believed that worship of the god preceded the establishment of Rome itself, making Janus one of the rare and antique indigenous gods not borrowed from the Greeks. His cult is shrouded in a good deal of mystery, and his attributes seem to link him closely to Kronos and Saturn, who he may have been the original indigenous versions of. So you can see all the stuff I researched, guys, and you can just see how much people's opinions vary on him and what he does. But when you're talking about in this model that I'm theorising and just showing you the power that links to the time, why is it so important, we talk about different realities all the time and people don't bat an eyelid. So when I'm talking about how this place works, whether it's spiritual or physical, and we're in this type of time glass, this god is being portrayed by the evil establishment. He is the god of gods because he controls everything. So whether we are in a, oh, what's the word? If we are in a, oh, heaven and hell and purgatory. If we are in a purgatory type of situation, and when we've sinned too much, these layers disappear, and they go downwards. And then if obviously we, do good, we get to go to heaven. So it's an intriguing type of thing. I will talk more and more, and probably better when I get to my thoughts, because it's hard to show you pictures for something that there's not many things of. But I'm starting to unlock and show just how deep this can go, why Janus is involved, and some people will raise an eyebrow. Why Paul? Why is it always Janus? Guys, when I started my journey with Janus, there was hardly anything on it, and I've researched me so hard to show you how deep this really goes, and people now are starting to take notice. Yes, I do get laughed and mocked at, and these people, well, they get triggered. They don't want to know. They want to keep knowing the same old shite 24/7. I'm taking this stuff further than most can, and it's unlocking more doors. Yes, it is a synchronicity type of thing. Are we in a simulation and it's feeding me information? Who knows? The only thing we do know is we know nothing. And I'm here to learn as much nothing as I can to try and better this situation and what I'm living in, and enlighten myself. And hopefully I can bring people along and they can enlighten me with information too. It's a two-way street, as we two-way. See, there's that many sayings. So you can picture the scenario of this model. I'm talking about the hourglass. Whether it's just a torus field or something, and it's got to do with electromagnetism, who knows? Because it's just intriguing me more and more looking to this, seeing the influential of this Janus entity, because he goes by many names, and you've seen my videos on it. It starts from Sumerian times to Ireland, and that's for you, Neil, to other realms. So there we go, guys. So I'm just showing you this little bit, just showing you more and more, and hopefully you're enjoying this little bit of difference. And it's not unique, because some people have talked about it, but it's putting all my research together to try and formulate something, and I believe I'm doing that. Right, guys, as you can see, Tempus, Fugit, time flies, hourglass with wings. Now I'm going to show you, not the full video, but I'm going to show you a clip from an old video that I did called The Sacred Connection. Because a Tempus Fugit, or an hourglass with wings, turns up in what I like to call one of the most sacred areas on a human body. The sacrum, the sacral, the ilium, the wings, the time, the figure of eight, the infinity. I want to show you just where it is now in this video, and ask, while you're watching it, is this a coincidence that this figure of eight, this infinity symbol, the hourglass shape, is part of the most sacred area on a human body, where they say the soul resides? I'll leave it up to you guys, but here is the short clip now. But like that last comment was, it's not like they named it sacred. Well, the sacrum, the holy triangle, oh, it's like the Trinity. Would they name it sacred for a reason? It's crazy, guys. A triangular bone in the lower back that's formed from the fused vertebra and situated between the two hip bones of the pelvis, which are the wings, the ilia, right? And the connection is just off the sacred triangle. Does it mean anything? Oh, mid-18th century, from the Latin os sacrum, translation to Greek hieron ostion, the sacred bone, from the belief that the soul resides in it. Now, why would anyone believe the soul or the one connection would reside in a tail? Wouldn't be they know something we don't know? Surely not, guys. It's not like they keep anything from us, is it? People are talking about the third eye. I'm talking about the direct line. The direct eye. It is crazy. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this, because I don't know where this is going to go in it. But as you can see, guys, the sacred bone. Right guys, thank you. So this is the sacroiliac joint. There's the sacrum, the ilium, the wings, pubic arch, who's the god of arches, and here we go. So the sacrum and the ilium, the angel wings, so highlights them there. We all imagine the wings to be here, which, you know, whether it's TV or whatever, that's what we do. But what if metaphorically it was in where it's sacred? Well, they call it the ilium, the wings. Just take a look. Does it remind you of something? If you think about it, have a look at this. You have the Tempus Fugit on the left, and on the right, as you know, it's a sacred area. Now, add the wings like you've already seen, and tell me that is not the same. The Hourglass 8, as you can see, from the sacred area, the sacrum, the sacroiliac joint, the pubic arch, add the wings, the ilium, you get Tempus Fugit, time flies symbol. Can you ask for any more? Is it a coincidence? Is it just potluck? Is it just one of those things? Or did they know something we didn't know? And that is why they named these areas to represent whether metaphorically, spiritually, or is actually here. The hourglass figure is in the sacred area together with the wings. So as you see, you have the ovary minors of the female, the sacral centre forming a triangle, and the same again on the male, the sacral centre and the testes minors. Now if you put these two together, look what you see. Have a guess, what does that look like? It's not like we've been talking about it in this video, is it? Yes, it's the hourglass. Is it a coincidence? You have the hourglass, you have the extinction logo, you have the ovary minors, the testes minors, you have the sacral area, all forming an 8, an infinity, an hourglass, and so much more. But you can just see why I'm excited putting all these series together. Hopefully you're enjoying them, guys. So this is from the same video, the sacred connection. You can see the sacral centre, the testes minors, the all-seeing eye, and the symbol for, you know, the Freemasons. They're all the same, all from that same area. So now you're thinking, is there any more? And oh boy, there's more. Now this is just me theorising again. What if these symbols that we see, Freemasons, though we all know the symbol, but what if we got the origins wrong? And I've showed in my AEIOU videos that they all represent hand symbols. Again, the vowels, vowel to L, the vowel to God. Now, is this talking about something else? Well, it resembles the sacred area, and we've just shown you. It's the 8, it's the infinity, it's the hourglass symbol. It's the shape, it's the same shape. These secret societies, whether they know it or not, are doing the figure of 8 with the fingers over the eyes, which the eyes are an 8 shape too. Even the Pope's done it, hidden in plain sight. So as you can see, this is why I'm like a little kid doing this, tying all my old theories back to the hourglass. It's everywhere, guys, and we just never saw it, hidden in plain sight. And that sacred area, which represents the hourglass, and the hourglass represents number 8, there is actually 8 parts to the sacred area. But that's just a coincidence, guys, just a pure coincidence. I bet you're wondering, why is he showing 3? Well, if you've watched my other videos, you'll understand. So as you can see, you might be thinking, why 3? Well, you put 2 3s together and it's 33. Now, most people know what this number relates to. It relates to, you know, Masonic, Freemasonry, level 33, Scottish Rite, Order out of Chaos. Now, Janus is also known as Chaos. There's 2 heads of the eagle, and if you put the 33 together and combine them, mirror them and combine them, you get this. See, you can see them moving together and you get 8. Infinity, the hourglass shape, so 33 equals this time glass shape that I'm basically making this video on. And you can see ovary minors, testes minors, the Janus, you know, cosmological model, and the Dante's Inferno mirrored makes this 8-shaped, this hourglass shape. So I just had to, you know, share that with you guys. And as you know, order out of chaos, well, the symbol for chaos. has 8 points. Any coincidence? Who knows? But as you can see, it's the 8, it's the hourglass again. And here we go, guys. Your eyes, your windows to the soul, and they're both shaped like an hourglass, or an 8, or an infinity, or one in the same. Now, we see the Holy See, the Vatican, has keys. Janus has keys. Janus is chaos. The chaos has 8, and the 8 fits into the Basilica courtyard. So I'm just putting these together to just show you the significance of 8, the significance of the infinity, is significance of the hourglass shape and the number 8. I've done videos on the significance of the number 8, and Janus being the key, and it seems to be all connected. And I've showed you how connected he is to the time glass and the operation of this realm. So I'm just putting that in there, guys. Now I don't pretend this to be a perfect hourglass shape, but someone's beat me to it and made this design of the 2 silhouettes of 2 faces, Janus, looking at each other, and the silhouette is creating a lamp or a candlestick timepiece, because obviously they put red sand in and it's just basically flowing. So you can see what the point I'm trying to get at. Could this all be, like I said, metaphorically? Who knows? But I just think it's rather interesting that this shape, this idea of 8, idea of the hourglass, is ingrained in our psyche, and this is just an example. So you can see this is the squatter man. I covered this a while ago in videos and various guises. It goes by many names, but the ancients saw this event happening in the sky. Who knows what it actually is, from a plasmapheric event to a reset? Who knows? But this symbol is everywhere. It's all around this realm. So they've seen something in the sky, and now today they're even producing it in the lab using different types of equipment. But look at it. It even looks like the atom. It's the same shape. Now, what is the shape? Well, obviously, I'm going to say it looks like a torus field. It looks like an hourglass. So this is just another piece of evidence that I'm putting into this video. Am I theorising it is an hourglass, or is it metaphoric? Like I said, it could be anything. I'm just like you guys. I'm just trying to get through this place as best I can, try and shed some light on things, ask some questions, get answers back, move on to the next thing. And I'm just finding a lot of in society we're brought up to fear time, even though it's a man-made construct, but we can see the evidence around us. All these things, it look like an hourglass. You have infinity, you know what I mean, the power of 8, the video I did showing all the 8s in this realm. It's crazy that how numbers and obviously symbols and sigils rule. So this is why I just wanted to show this bit of the squatter man, and what could it have been? Could that have been a reflection of what this realm is, or could it have just been a reset? Could it have been planets aligning? Could it be in the northern lights? We just don't know. We just wasn't there at this event. Was it real? It could be fake. But the sheer amount of drawings are all around the world deemed to show me that something's happened. But yes, like anything, we draw what we see, but sometimes we're not good drawers. Or, you know what I mean? Or we could have just been drunk or anything. We just don't know, because we wasn't there in this type of event. But I had to show this in this video and ask the question, is the squatter man? To me, it looks like the figure of 8. It looks like the hourglass that I'm talking about. So I'll leave that there. See, this is just me thinking what if and thinking out loud. Now when you look at an hourglass, now I've talked about how we could be in the neck, or if we're on top of in the sand, because if you look at it, when you look at an hourglass and it's just about to flow, it's a flat level. It's complete flat, isn't it? I mean, you can see in the picture above. Now what got me thinking is, if you all remember Auguste Piccard in 1931-32, he went up in a balloon to about 17,000 meters, 55,000 feet. He talks about, as it says in the picture, it seemed a flat disc with an upturned edge. So keep that in mind. the guy is talking about going up to 55,000 feet, and what he saw was a flat plane with an upturned edge. Now, this reminds me of this what's coming up now. So, Auguste Piccard talks about upturned edges. Quickly have a look at an hourglass and the sand disappearing below. What is it? It starts off as flat, as I showed you in the pictures, but look at the edges. They are upturned. So my theory is, people already talk about we're in an enclosed system. What if the part of the enclosed system is every so often we get earthquakes, tsunamis, sinkholes, and that is what takes away the layers above. You can say it depends how you look at it. Do we get a rapture? Do we get a reset? Do the powers that be control these resets, or is it part of the cycle, the world cycle, time, hourglass? When our time is up, we lose a layer. Think about it now. In around 1932, so like from 30 or a little bit forward, when you get to a certain time, the world gets upturned edges, ready for a layer to lose a layer. This is just my thinking. We could be in an hourglass, we could be in an enclosed system. But think about it, we have all these layers of civilizations underneath our ground, and sometimes they're just too perfect. People talk about mudflood and the mud coming above. Well, yes, we do see floods and mud floods about, and we do get a lot of water, but we get a tremendous amount of sinkholes because the ground underneath is hollow from where all these extra layers have gone, pockets of air. So just picture, in certain times you can say rapture, a reset, end of a cycle, or just natural. It's like shedding skin. We have a frequency, it's frequency based in this reality. It's all frequency and energy and magnetism. So if there is a sin wave, for instance, if you want to look at it from a religious or spiritual point of view, if we sin too much, if we are in a purgatory type of event, and to cleanse our sins, remember I did a video on mud flood. To cleanse, we use mud. We're supposed to be born of the earth, born of mud. So are we talking about a scenario where we get buried and buried and buried below these? Because look at it, an hourglass had upturned edges. People can say, oh well, we're not in a concave, we're in a flat. We're not in a flat, we're in a concave. It answers both questions. We're in an enclosed system, and when the frequency to trigger earthquakes, picture we have earthquakes, the earth's crust is in pieces, to shake, to move down layer after layer after layer. And this is not just, it's just a what if, and hopefully people with better minds can say, no Paul, you're talking out your bottom, which is highly plausible, but at least I'm talking, at least I'm asking these questions, and then it's another one to be ticked off, not thrown away, just ticked off. So picture this, at certain points in our time we have series of earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, sinkholes opening up, and these places get buried. And it's like, you know, some of them are perfectly preserved, some of them are not, but we're layer on layer. I used to metal detect, and I've found 800-year-old coins an inch from the surface. So it doesn't happen in certain places. Certain places bedrock is higher than others, so they don't get less affected, but in some places the hundreds of feet below. So you can just see it. Just an interesting point of view, that these upturned edges that Piccard talks about, and people in the flat earth community use this as proof it's flat. But the guy said it had upturned edges, so it isn't flat. People then say, well, it's just an optical illusion with the eye and this, and it's concave. You know what I mean? So you can't win. So here's another theory. What happens if we are flat, like a timepiece, and underneath gives way? So when underway gives way, obviously at the sides is the last place to go. Makes sense to me. See what you guys think. So we have the Sumerian or the Akkadian tree of life. It's been talked about, well, since forever. DNA helix and various other theories. But now I'm putting in the infinity or the hourglass to represent what I'm talking about today, because yes, you can quite see it. It looks like an hourglass together. It looks like DNA. Here we have King Tut's tomb, and one of the earliest representations of Ubros, which is time, the snake eating its own tail, and many other things, but it's tied to Janus too, hence this video. And as you can quite see it, a circle around the head, it can be many things. Circle around the feet, again, it could be many things. You know what I mean? But it is Ubros. But in the middle you also got the falcon. In the sphere, in the dome, in the enclosed system. And that means it's divine. We're the sacrum and sacrum. But quite look at it. If you just look at it, it's the same as the mirrored Dante's Inferno. You know, above, so below, and a circled, enclosed tomb in the middle. Then we're looking here at the Tree of Life, the Sediphos, as well as this one's called Malkuth and Kether. And it is the hourglass. You can't get away from it. I'll zoom in on the right side and you can quite see it. Upper cone, lower cone, hourglass symbol, the X as well. X marks the spots. And then we have it in a different representation here in the macromos, and where I have an inverted pyramid at top. These have a pyramid and a pyramid at the bottom, and then a layer in the middle where I had the flat earth type of thing. But similar type of layout to what I've trying to been shown. The hourglass image, the Trinity. This is what I made for an old video in regard to purgatory, hell, the physical, purgatory, the veil, the purifier, heaven, magical. We also have the ithacus, which is obviously a synonym for Jesus, and we have the wheel. Well, I've already talked about the wheel of time, hourglass. Janus was in charge of it. He was on top of the spinning wheel on the pole. So just look at it now. As soon as I saw it again, because I saw it forever, just mind a creaking chair, but something just screamed out to me. Let's mirror it. And what do you get? So there you go. You get the basic, the fish symbol. We've all seen it, symbol for Christianity. But I mirrored it, and you get infinity. You get a weird type of 8, and you also get the hourglass. And the similar shape to what I've just made in Dante's Inferno. Above, so below, and an enclosed system in the middle, just like the Vesicus Pisces. Above, below, and an enclosed system in the middle. I see that, and hopefully now you guys see that. I'm just trying to make something new, a bit fresh. People have talked about this. I've seen it on social media, but they've not tied it with different things, and so I just want to put my spin on it. And I have a platform, and I use this for my thoughts, but I invite you good people into peeking what's going on in my head, and hopefully you enjoy this difference. Some will get triggered because they're under a spell and they just want to follow the said path. These people, us included, we all have to just stick our necks out sometimes and just think something out of the box, because you don't know what it can spark. It can spark a fresh idea, fresh research, and someone can just do something really, really good. And this is what I'm here to do, show people what's going on in this crazy head, and also try and ignite some thoughts in other people. Because when I do this, and I get the questions and answers back from you good guys, it sparks me again. It gives me the impetus, gives me the fire, it helps me to keep going. And like I said, I can't do this without you guys, and this is just my theory today, talking about the hourglass and what it could represent, with it metaphorically, spiritually, an actual physical enclosed system, and what something above and below that generates us. Who knows? I'll talk about this more and more in my thoughts. But as you can see now, it's an interesting idea. So what do we have here? You've seen it covered on this channel so many times. It's the life and death ruin. Locked together, they are both Wendy horn. They are a binding ruin. We'll look at it again, a variation of this binding ruin. The Wendy horn. Does it look familiar? The Wendy horn is a squatter man. It's life and death. It's a binding ruin. It's an hourglass. Total them all together, and you see It is the hourglass. It's the hourglass shape. Interesting, isn't it? Well, if you look at this, you have the Wendy horn, you have Chanel, and you have EE, which means everything, everywhere. C equals 3, so CC, which you can see above, equals 33. The hourglass is the binding ruin. It binds you to life and death. 33. Now we know, I've talked about it so many, about the 9, 11, and the 13 being 33 and Lemuria. But just look at the time when they launched EE. Tuesday the 11th of the 9th. In your face. Now, but look at the EE logo. It is identical in a way, same shape, to the carbon-12 atom. And we talk about 5G and the link to radiation on us. Is there anything in that? Well, look at this. This is one of the biggest psyops for me. It's just my personal opinion. I don't believe what the Georgie Guidestones are. I just think they scare people. And what I mean by that is, if you look at it, it tells you you've got to maintain humanity under 500 million. Guide reproduction widely, improve fitness. Well, they're not improving fitness because they're shutting all the gyms down. I just believe it's a scare tactic. But, it's there for a reason. But look at it. Can you see it from above? What does it resemble? Yes, an hourglass. Like I've showed you today, even the human and the female reproduction organs, as I showed you, but also the Wendy horn, life and death, and binding us. And you can see her legs, Elges, and here Wendy horn, they are binding us. It's like the old motto, remember, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. That sounds like time, doesn't it? And you can see from this picture, someone's thought of that already, Alpha and Omega in an hourglass. Well, it's funny when we keep time, isn't it? Oh yes, they have Alpha watches, the beginning. Oh, and they also have Omega watches. The beginning and the end is always matched by time. And when you look at these clocks and watches, 9 times out of 10, these watches always have the 10-10, roughly 10-10 position, the Shiva position, and we know who Shiva is because I've done videos on it, and CERN, it is Janus. He is in charge of time. I've showed you he is also known as Kronos and the forerunner to all these people. So as you can see, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end of the hourglass. Right guys, I research a lot, and especially Janus. Now if you look at this with Janus in mind, this Bible verse, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Now when you listen to that, it does sound, whoa, we're talking about binding. Now I'm theorising as well, is that time, and obviously the symbol of the Wendy horn is time, is an hourglass. It's a spell to bind us to our vessels. If you think about it, what's the difference between us now and ancient ancestors who were giants, who lived for, immortal type of years? It's time. Yes, they say time is a man-made construct, but I believe we emit it. It's a sigil, it's a spell. It's what degrades these vessels. Time, for me, is Satan. Because time is an adversary. I mean, look what lucid or loosed means: free from bonds. So when something is loosed or lucid, it means they're free from the bonds. We always talk about the devil and Satan chained up. I mean, look at this verse. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent which is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. Just look at the picture of the two serpents. It looks like the DNA. It looks like the time glass, the hourglass. Everything that I'm talking about in this video, it looks like. And adversary is Satan. That's what it means. Satan means adversary. We have been conditioned to see the passing of time as an adversary. So technically, if adversary does mean Satan. So I'm talking about, is time an adversary, like we've been taught? Could be Satan. It's what is degrading these bodies. It's the two twin serpents in our DNA. It could, you know what I mean? We talk about an hourglass. There's various shapes that take on the shape. You have, in medical terms, you have the caduceus, and then you have Hermes' staff, and then you have the caduceus. And what's the other one? I can't remember the other one now. Asclepius. So serpent worship has been going on since antiquity, because in them days the North Star was Thuban, which was in the Draco constellation. Actually, there was 2 stars. It used to be. It was another star for a few years, and then it was Thuban for a while, but both in the Draco constellation. So it's just mind blowing to think that could Satan, which means adversary, could time be these vessels' adversary, because it makes these vessels degrade. Just a thought, see what you guys think. Now, I think this is from a Judaic point of view. I'm not quite sure. I've seen various, testament to it on the interweb. Now, it says the Hebrew word Satan means an adversary, like I've been talking about. But let's do this literally. One who, so I'll read it again. The Hebrew word Satan means an adversary, one who resists. It is translated as Satan 18 times in the Old Testament or Hebrew Bible. The word first appears in the book of Job, where Satan is not God's adversary, but Job's. The Satan acts as one of God's servants and follows God's instructions. Now, when we work a slave job, or work for the man, whatever you want to call it, what do we call it? We call it a job. And time is always our, you know what I mean? Sometimes it can work for us, sometimes it can drag, sometimes it's our adversary. There's not enough hours in the day, as the saying goes. So if you read that literally, it's talking about how Job is Satan times adversary. I just had to put that in as a little weird kink. I think I'm going to put a few quotes in now, and then I'm going to go to my thoughts. I'm living underwater. Everything seems slow and far away. I know there's a world up there, a sunlit, quick world where time runs like dry sand through an hourglass. But down here, where I am air and sound and time and feeling are thick and dense. Our lives are but specks of dust falling through the fingers of time, like sands of the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. Dude, this place is filling up, I say. It feels like we're living in the bottom half of an hourglass, like somehow we're running out of time. Life is like an hourglass. Eventually everything hits the bottom, and all we have to do is wait until someone comes along and turns it back around. Your existence is passing before you. Grains of sand in the hourglass. The wicked witch of the west has you in her castle, and she's turned the hourglass over, and the sand is running through. Will you be liberated, or will you die? The only way you can beat death is liberation. Don't wait to decide what the hell's important and worth the precious sand in your hourglass. An hourglass is a reminder not only of time's quick flight, but also the dust to which we must at last return. So you'll see various images. I mean, look at these. It's the figure of 8, it's the hourglass shape. You can just quite see it, and you'll see them on old maps, and people who believe in different aspects of what this realm looks like will say it's proved for a concave earth and this and that. But if you think about it, it's an hourglass. That's what it is, that's the shape. You just turn it around, and I'll show you now. It is the infinity, the 8, the hourglass shape. Now what's funny is, years and years ago, before I even had any editing skills, I did this picture. See, it's like that's why I want to talk. I told you at the beginning, is I've made this film, and it took me years to make, because I've had this idea in my head for such a long time of this aspect. And as you can see at the top, 14th of December 2017, time 10:52, that even the time adds to 8. And when I've posted that on social media, people are sending me images like this. You can see, if you turn this on the side, it'd be the aspect of the hourglass with us in the middle, the viscous Pisces type of thing. And think about it even deeper. We have the analemma. Well, what shape is it? It's an 8, and that is used to measure time, time glass, hourglass. And who's in charge of the summer solstice and the winter solstice and all that? It's Janus, the Annui Coeli, You remember me getting, this is a post on social media, you remember me getting banned from social media, telling you about the lockdown ended on the 21st of June, the summer solstice. Well, I'd like to add to that because you guys know this has been a ritual to Janus. And the summer solstice is also known as the Janui Coeli, the Janus Heaven Gates, which lead into the celestial garden. Janua Coeli Heaven Gates is a study of two cardinal points of the year from the traditional perspective, in which time and space are not rigidly distinguished from the winter and the summer solstice. They are not only points in time, but also the northern and southern entrances to and exits from the world of matter. So Janui Coeli and Janui Inferni are both named after the entity that controls them. They are the Solstice Gates and Janus who controls them. So for people who laugh and say Janus, that's his Roman name. He's been so many names and different religions and whatnot. He is important, guys. You can see it from this video, let alone. Now look at this. We know about Walt Disney and his Masonic and all his evil doings. This is his wedding invite. Lily and Walt Disney's Tempus Fugit celebration. Come on, guys. Time flies on your wedding invitation. He knows about the Masonic time flies Tempus Fugit symbol. So he's put it on his wedding certificate. You can't get more in your face than that. Hello. Welcome. Hopefully everyone is having a good week, depending on when I get this out, what day it is. So hopefully everyone's having a good time. So what's your thoughts on what you've just watched? I could have carried on forever, and I've been on this video for some weeks now, and it's like, you know, when you're doing something for so long, you just want to go on a fresh topic, and my mind's always racing, and even when I'm researching, I find something to, you know, interesting that I want to jump into. So I've said to myself, you know what, there's a lot of information in that, maybe too much as it is. What's the point carrying on? I'll just do my thoughts, give it a quick roundup, because people will be like falling asleep tonight at the minute. So what's your guys' thoughts on it? I mean, personally, is it a metaphorically, you know, in regard to the hourglass? I mean, you think about it, the perfect shape of a woman. Maybe not now, because it's all going doolally in it with trans and all this stupid stuff. But in my day, growing up, the perfect shape of a woman, and it was called an hourglass figure. Just interesting that emphasise on the hourglass. We've seen it in this with Masonic Freemasonry. It used to be one of the major symbols with the skull and crossbones, and after unification, whatever happened there, it got axed for, you know, the compass and the square and the compass. So that's interesting. It is why they even talking about it. And since you've been born, emphasise on the hours, time, hourglass. I mean, look at films like Prince of Persia, the game Prince of Persia as well. Sands of time. When we work, we're always working for the man-slave job, time, clock in, clock out. Always told time is a man-made construct, it doesn't exist. Yeah, it's a label, and whatever thing we are labelling does exist. You can see it. You grow, you know, you're born, and you grow old, and you die. It's a process. So you can call the process whatever you want, it's just a label. And we've labelled it time. So whether time that we know it, and what has been labelled is something different, who knows? And we theorise about on this thing. I have in other videos talking about how time is spelled emit backwards, or emit. And the character in Back to the Future is called Emmett. You have the Y, the Y capacitor, the flux capacitor. It's a Y shape. And in this video and other videos I've shown you, the guy who's in charge of the paths, even initiations into secret societies, is God Janus. Remember, that's just his Roman name. It goes by so many different names. But I just call it that one because it's easier to say out than some of the others. But you can get me drift. And you saw it in this when you're talking about Janus, how he's sitting with the hours. He controls the doorways, the portals to get into heaven and hell. And that is why when System Failure, who sends me off on this. He said, do you know what this is? I'm like, yeah, I've talked about it many times, and like, I've been on this video for weeks, but I don't say too much when I'm making a video, because my mind, I have a mindset, I'm on a video and I'm focused on the video, and I'm like, I go to a different place because I just have to get it out. So I didn't say too much, but it's just so funny that people are, class synchronicity, and you see things, and then you see things when you're looking into a certain topic, you'll see it everywhere, and that ties in with pareidolia. You're actually seeing what you're actually seeing. Who knows? Is it part of your, your growth, your spiritual growth, and your physical growth? Talking about these paths, and he's in charge of them. And then he's in charge of the equinoxes and things like that, as I showed you. It's just intriguing that people laugh at my research on it, yet they've never bothered to do the research and look into it themselves like anything else. And I always get confused and dumbfounded about truthers in general. You're in a niche community, as it is, if it is a community. I've never said it's a community. You're in a niche, sector, whatever you want to call it, gang, culture, whatever. And you victimise as it is, yet you victimise people who think differently within. I've never got that. You should be having people with so open minds, because you're in a group with supposedly open-minded people. So that's why people talk about, well, there's certain different levels of truthers, and I'm woke. I don't know, you're woke. We're all asleep. We're just at different levels of sleep. And that ties into different levels of heaven, different layers of hell. You have Idrisil, the tree with all the 9 kingdoms on it. You have 7 heavens in certain philosophies and religions and cultures. Dante's Inferno, different layers of hell. I mean, he even talks about it when you get to the pit, the bottom, that the devil has 3 heads. Janus had 4 heads, Janus had 3 heads, now he has 2, yet one is invisible. Funny that, isn't it? So when you're looking into this video, I'm seeing what's it about, and hopefully, this is just the whole point of when I do videos, is hopefully it just gives you the, not inspiration as such, as you'll see something, it'll trigger a thought in you, and you'll run with it then to help your theory, if it's slightly different or totally different from mine. These are just theories, musings, collections, thoughts, you name it. I've had these for years, and I've just put it into one video. I've showed the importance of 8, significance of 8 in other videos. People will argue, well, this number's more important, this is more important. People don't understand. It's only important to you. People have a unique perspective, a different number or something else theory, it matters to them. It's why you get triggered. And people say, well, I don't get triggered. You do get triggered. People get triggered. I get triggered. It's an emotional response. There's difference. There's an emotional response to something, and there's the indoctrination trigger, the spell. And how you react to this is how you are as a person. When someone says something to me and it goes totally against, I just say, that's your theory, and I'm polite. But some people just start shouting, screaming, calling you shills. You know what I mean? You can see the different aspects of people. It's how they are, they handle the truth. Remember, truth is personal, but it can trap you. That's why there's a rut in it. So this theory I was talking about, is it metaphorical, allegoric, all them long words? Or is it real? I don't know. I can't prove it. I've showed you so many videos you can prove. People cannot prove nothing. There's things and evidence and so-called proofs that can help their theory, but you can never prove something 100% fact. So, you know what I mean? I know you can say this, and people screaming out, I can prove this 100% fact. But it goes with anything. Some people believe in a creator, right? So to them, the creator, God, is true. It's fact. You can see his handiwork. Once if you're an atheist and you don't believe in God, then it wouldn't be fact about God. So anything, what I'm trying to get at, there's always something. For instance, if I get 6 people in front of me and I ask them, what's the colour of that pen? 5 or 3 will say red, and another will say, oh, brown or something, because they're colourblind or whatever colourblind see it. See, we only seen 3 colours, so says science, red, green and blue, and then everything gets mixed. So if you're colourblind and you've seen a different colour, you're actually seeing how things should be, and it's the vice versa. That's my point. Who's to say you are correct, you're false? And that's what I always try and get in my videos. Who is the law? I've got more subs than you. That means I am right. No, it just means you've got a bigger ego. You know what I mean? We all have egos. So think about it. You are trying to escape from something. Your natural reaction is, well, I'll build a house away from it or higher up, dwellings. Some people will say they're melted buildings. I've not researched it enough. I've not seen enough plausible evidence. Yes, it does look like some of these mountains are melted into buildings, because you can see it. But also you have to say to yourself that people are, what's the word, canny, we say over here. Oh, there's a hole there, I'll build a facade in that hole. Which it could be. But all theories are interesting. Like I said, I'm not slamming no theories, because I just love information, and I always keep everything on the same level, playing level field, because who knows where I'm going to go. So what my point is, you are trying to escape from something, so you build it up. If the grounds were sinkholing and dropping down these layers that I was talking about, you would want to get on a hard surface. Either you said it's a building or it's a mountain, it's on bedrock, because the floor's going to go. Hence, people are trying to escape from something in the sky or radiation or rockets. They build deep underground military bases called DUMBs. You never, for instance, if they want to get away from rockets or whatever, they're not going to build it high up in the air, are they? The buildings, it's always going to be away, and big thick doors and walls and rocks in between. Just common sense. And we can see the amount of sinkholes that's happening in this world. It's like Swiss cheese. So that's what got me thinking. Is there a time when we have resets and people talk about revelation, the trumpets of revelation, the rapture, and a reset happens? So if there's a frequency, you could call it a sin wave, SIN, and I've seen people like Matt and talking about this, and I've not done enough research. So again, I can't nay or yay, but I found it interesting, like the melted buildings. So if there is an actual wave, a frequency, because everything is a frequency and vibration. That's what everyone say and agree. So like I've always talked about before, it has to be a frequency to set off the liquefaction or whatever. Or is it the case of the doors open to hell and a layer goes down? Boom, 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 boom. And it goes. Because some of these, like in Napoli that I covered a few weeks ago in the video, they're so well preserved that towns and cities were built on top of it. Is it the case of these people, a reset happened and it just went like liquefaction straight down? And a sin wave, as you know, SINE, but I'll call it sin, as sin wave, is that type of shape. Well, you put two together and you see it's an 8 or an hourglass figure. So that's just very interesting that you have all this going on, resets happening, sinkholes dropping away. And when you look into different things, you talk about Auguste Piccard, who went up to, 70,000 feet? I did say in the video, he went up so high and he saw upturned edges. Now, his eyes playing optical illusion, but if I'm up and he said he'd seen the sides upturned, when you're in hourglass type of thing, and most people are now saying that we're in a biodome, a sphere, a firmament, whatever theory you're on, but an ecosystem, an echo chamber, because of the pressurized system. So if ground was going to give away, like in the sandglass, that's why I showed you, it starts in the middle or in certain aspects. It never starts at the side. 9 times out of 10 you'll see the flow going like this in an hourglass. So did he see the process of the sin wave, as I'm calling it, or a reset happening to layers? Now, if you look in 1932 or 34, 35, for a few good, not a few good years, but a few years after, you saw sinkholes, earthquakes, tsunamis. So around that period, you did have a lot of death in regard to the ground. We have as we know, we have earthquakes and we have in plates, tectonic plates, and they move. It reminds me of, in a sense, yes, an hourglass, but when you do mining, you see them looking for gold and panning for gold, and you have the actual a physical machine and as a sieve, and it rocks and things just drop through the gaps. Is that the aspect of what's going on? The sheer hole, the bottom of hell, different layers, because it's all dropped. Now, that is when I was talking about hell on earth and different things, and frequency and purgatory. And purgatory means to cleanse. And mud, we use mud to cleanse your face, to clean it. I've done a video over a year ago about mudflood and how the etymology of the word meant to cleanse. And we had mudflood covering. Pardon me. So you have all these aspects to think about in this enclosed system, whether you believe it's an hourglass shape of heaven and hell up there. Are they the other lands, classed as heaven and gods? Because if they have the tech, it's funny, because remember my old video where the Janus, and you had two islands and they were at opposite ends, and people talk about hollow earth and different aspects, and you have two gateways at either end. Now we don't know where they would be on whatever map, but they were opposites. So if you're talking to a guy who's in control of the doorways and tells you there's two doorways and it's named after him, and you can find them on Google Earth, and I've done a video on it, you're scratching your head thinking, yeah, Paul, you know what? Your research on Janus is, it's wow, because when I started researching it, there's hardly anyone talking about it, and especially not how I'm talking about it. And that makes me proud. Sometimes it pees me off as well, because, people laugh and mock, but, you're always going to get someone who doesn't like the information that you're showing them, because that's what it is, information. You can take it on board, or you dismiss it. But I've learned from being a truther, you never dismiss anything. You might not agree with it, but keep it, because it's information, and you don't know when that information will come back to bite you in your ass, or you'll need it, and that's what I do. So I never dismiss anything. So think about it. We have these aspects of this realm, enclosed system, firmaments, layers and layers of places disappearing. Now, star forts are in strategic locations. Most of them are built on granite beds. We don't know. I know most of them are built above death and crypts, and I've showed you all the dead bodies. Is that the energy? But think about it. If these are dotted in certain locations, and especially on ley lines, is when this frequency to reset comes, are these like strategic points that initialize a disablement of the soil and ground around it? Do you know what I mean? Like we talk about circuits. Is these a points? Is this what powers the locations to the ground disappear? These are just thoughts. And for instance, monsters. I mean, if we complete layers are disappearing in caves and it's going underground, these places are still able to aspect different layers. And we've seen that through the tunnel system all around this realm. But also, what you got about these medieval monsters or cryptoids. Are they living in different aspects of this realm? Bit like Idrisil, but the different types of layers. I mean, there's so many mythical islands that are able to cloak as well. High Brazil, and you got Frizzell. Is it Frizzell? I can't remember. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to actually talk about that, but you can see my point. There's different things that we can talk about. And then you have tales of the ancient Indians living underground with a white man and breeding with them when a reset happened. They had to hide in the mountain of the gods, and it got sealed in, and they lived underground with a white man and winter bread and different things. We're talking about different times when people either try to get away from this, and this is what my point is. If you were seeing the ground getting sucked away and disappearing, you would look for hard ground, hard bedrock to build away from. If you're trying to get away from something in the sky, you would build it under the ground to get away from. It's common sense. So this is why I was talking about when resets happen. Is there a frequency? Is there trumpets? Is it revelation and rapture? And this so-called sin wave, which is an S, which is an hourglass figure, triggers these types of events. People call them Saturn signals, and rings of Saturn created them. Like I said, I've not looked into it, so I can't really, talk about something I really don't know, but the information is out there if you want to look at it. And then we're talking about, obviously, I've talked about the mirroring of Dante's Inferno. It was crazy. I was just doing the video when I got, hey, if you saw that, I think, oh, do we say mirror it? Because Matt was talking about, doesn't it look like a firmament underneath, and then you got the layers above? And we can see in all the aspects of these different religions, we have a dome aspect, and different religions call it different things, and then the layers of heaven. But if you mirror it, we have layers of hell too, because obviously Dante's talks about it, and other religions talk about layers of hell. So heaven layers talks about that. And when I started looking at this and the hourglass, I came across the Tempus Fugit, time flies, the hourglass symbol with wings, and I'm like, wow. And then when you look into it, the Masons used to have it as a major symbol. And I showed you that after the unification, what day was it? 1813. They went to the square and compass. So it's just interesting. It's all interesting to show you. What am I showing you? Is it all metaphorical, allegoric? Is it actually something that's really going on? Because you talk about the squatter man and the so-called ancient scene, that type of, people call it a plasmaric type of event. But now I'm thinking that shape appeared in the sky. Spells create, when you spell, you do a spell, God created this realm, right? He did a spell, and when the spell hit a medium, it creates a sigil, creates a pattern, a design. So that's, to me, is the Wendy horn symbol, life and death, and it's a sigil, a binding. Is at the time when we got bound, we got binded to this realm, or is it talking about the fallen? Is it the case of when they fell, that symbol appeared and bound them to hell if we were in purgatory, or did they go down? Because when you're looking at that quote, a verse from the Bible, it talks about being bound here, you'd be bound up there. People always talk about they have different aspects of you, especially dream world. Are we here in an alternate reality? Are we there? You're talking about the cosmological model of Janus looking like an hourglass. And he is God of time. And people say, Kronos, I've showed you, people have talked about him before time. Alpha and Omega, I've told you, people have seen him, he's a precursor to Saturn, Kronos. All them, he is being mentioned as and before. So you can see the crazy world when you've got something so big, yet people refuse to look at and think he's insignificant. Where are we up to? Tempus Fugit. That just got me, that when I saw it with the wings. It's just crazy. And then you got the Extinction logo. The same, time flies. And then they had the Y on it for the youth. Now, I've talked about the Y so much, and it's about the path you take in life. Well, Janus is in charge of their path, and it stems from Pythagoras. He was one of the first to talk about it, the left and the right path. So, and he is a precursor for all of the secret societies. They still use these ceremonies and practices today. So that's how important it is. And then you're talking about the twin pillars of Boaz and Joachim. That's the 11. It's 11. That's Janus's number. So what else have we got? Minutes. So yeah, and then in the Vatican, the Gate of Death, and you had the tower, hourglass, and the skeleton had wings. I thought, how creepy is that? And that was for Pope Alexander the 7th or 8th, was it? And if you follow the light down, you go into the crypt with 12 other popes that are mummified. It's crazy. And people, I'm slowly, like I said, I don't want to change anyone's mind. I just want to show the information that I've researched. And if you want to take it on board and help you come to a better plan, information is key. And if I know that Janus, the Roman version, and like I said, we are Neil loves the Irish, and there's an aspect of Janus in the Ireland, Irish bit, Irish Gaelic folklore, and then the Sumerian. Like I said, the entity known as I call Janus goes back, and he has different names in different religions. So when you're talking about the aspects of Rome being a key, a frequency key, and you have all the chaos, number 8, Janus is known as chaos. You're seeing all these things on these hourglass figures, the atom, all doing an 8, an hourglass figure. It's just How much do you disband and ignore before you think there's something happening here? Do you just dismiss it, or do you just keep it on board and just keep researching? I mean, yeah, they all look like a torus field. No one can deny that, and people have talked about that for a long time. Why are they talking about a torus field? Because of the shape. So if we're in a structure like that, it would make sense because the energy would go in the shape of its container. It's just an idea. And then we have when I did a video about the sacred connection, and if you've not saw that, please watch it. It's a really deep theory about we had a hardline connection, we had a tail, hence the tailbone, the coccyx, and all the things in regard to that. But down there, the sacrum and the sacral and the pelvis bone, it does that symbol. Secret societies do that, and it resembles an 8 or an hourglass. Well, just above them, you have the ilium, the wings. So you tell me you have an hourglass symbol, and you have the wings just above, similar type of shape to Tempus Fugit, and that is not a coincidence. That alone should be wow. And that was to me, but like we said, we all look at things totally different, don't we? And we don't sometimes see it. And that was too much of a coincidence for me. And then you had obviously the 33s I put in, because 33 turn round makes an 8, makes an hourglass. You have Chanel logo, and you had all the different logos matching the Tempus Fugit, the time flies, the hourglass figure. And everything everywhere, the EE, we're talking about how they're affecting, the radiation, affecting, your atoms, your body's oxygen levels, and you're talking about atoms looking in that shape. And oxygen, even oxygen, is it number 8, if I remember from the 8 video. So there's all these coincidences, and people shout, "No, Paul, there's no such thing as a coincidence." So, like I said about the 33, you had the 9, 11 and 13 adding to 33. You even had that 9 and 11 in when the 4G was kicking off. But to me, it's so interesting when we're talking about evil. And you guys who watch me regularly know I've been talking about, I believe there's an evil frequency, and it influences people. And if they're not strong-willed, it influences them to where they do evil, because we have good and evil in us. And that emphasised when I was talking about Satan being in time. Satan means adversary. Now, what is time but to us now is an adversary of time. He affects us. We get older. Our bones go creakier. Yes, people say, oh, we have outside influences making us older, which is correct. Water, food, all this, vaccines, it's affecting us. But the point where I'm trying to get is, if you think time then is saying as an adversary, and then you have, that was just so funny when I talked about Job, we call it Job. Yeah, it's a job. And when we work for the man, for the cabal, and time is always against us, and we have to clock in and out. So funny that they say Job and Satan were the adversaries, not Jesus. Not God, or the little God, big God, whatever it says in that verse. Because then God, and people say no, but I believe Janus is a god. He's a god of gods to the cabal, and that's why I research him so much. So if he controls the doorways and time, whether it's a dust, whether it's a sand, he's controlling this, and this is why they're going out the outmost to serve him and show rituals. We've had a whole ritual of years, the last year and a bit, to a virus in his honour. Started off as a novel coronavirus, the Roman crown. He was the first king of Latium. Latin is from that. You have maritime law. You have him as Noah. So all these aspects have to make you think, yep, we've had a ritual to him. And that's why I keep going on about it, because if I can see it, and more people now are opening their eyes to see it, you're trying to break the ritual to it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I don't push the agenda. I just post it on my page. Guys, if you take it, take it on board, it's up to you. Ooh, And what about the Christian fish symbol, the Christian iscas, whatever it's called, being mirrored, and again makes a DNA shape, the twin serpent shape, the hourglass shape. Pardon me. I just found these things too much, and then you put in board, and then the viscous Pisces or viscous Pisces or how you pronounce it. And I've always talked about it on here and on lives. We've talked about it. It was a session, I believe, we're personally in Purgatory. This is where we go to cleanse. Now, if you think about it, why certain people here longer than others, maybe in our past lives or reincarnation or whatever, because I've talked about it in videos before, changing the spells of the doors of the levels of heaven. Gnosticism, knowledge, down the rabbit hole, all tied to Janus. Whether you like it or not, I've tied it and I've showed the evidence for it. It's not a case of me going, oh well, Janus is and Janus that, and just take my word. I've showed other people have talked about, and I've put it together to, for you to see. So if we are here and we are sinners and we're going to Purgatory for last chance to cleanse, and then how we spend our time here, does that reference to how much naughty we've been? Hence people get out earlier. I just don't know. It's just an intriguing thought that time emits. I've always talked about how it emits from us. We are time. Time is just a label. You could call it lollipops. I don't know. We've just labelled it label. And I told you that la is a song, it's a frequency, and Baal is Janus. Label. A song for Janus. So these things offer Baal, however you want to pronounce it. But it is, just looking where we're up to then. So that's what it is with this. Do you take things on board? Have I got categorical 100% proof it's this? No, it's not. This is just me musing, doing what I'm good at. And people who are better than me at putting things together more can say, Paul, you know what, you were totally wrong on that, but that just gives me some food for thought, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here for popularity. Yes, you wanted people to enjoy your stuff, but there's that many idiots out there. I mean, we all have them, especially me. So it's interesting when we're talking about this and a bit sin being a frequency, the actual sound wave. It just gets me how we're in this realm and so many people have so many. You think about it, I'll have a different thought to my co-host and friend session and my friends like Steve and Holly and all the people who I know and talk to on a regular basis. We all have a different aspect of what we see this. Now ask yourself this, if you are a good researcher and an honest person and no ego involved, how can you and say 10 friends all have a different aspect of where you live? Some will say simulation, some will say globe, concave, flat, something else like what I've talked about today. How is that possible? And that is the point to get to, who says who's right or wrong. Or do you take the information on board and use it to help your theory and see if you can mould it into something more palatable for someone else, or you just keep on going? It's all up for you, but it's how you deal with them people. I have respect for other people. Yes, I might not agree with what they do or what they say, but it's like this. People always say, oh, I'm sorry. I'm done saying sorry. If you don't like my stuff, you know where the door is. And as the saying goes, don't let it hit your ass on the way out. I'm a good person. I'm doing this for the love of it. I'm doing it for information. I'm doing it for no monetary gain whatsoever. I research for hours a day, and videos take weeks. All my hard time is gone into this, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, make a video and do your own theories. Don't sit here and complain and blah 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 and being a troll, yet you have zero content. That's just a joke. We all, you should have the common sense and the discernment to know we're all different and unique. And these people don't. These people are just gone into a theory and are not strong-willed to stand up to a different thought. When I've gone into different segments of the truth community, I have a strong inner self, And if I don't like something, I'll say I don't like that. Can I find something? I won't say nasty, but when you go into a community and you think, wow, this other theory is more plausible, and that's when you think, if I say something, that means I've got to leave it. And it's finding them good friends that won't ostracize you for having a different opinion, know where you're coming from. Yet we see it time and time again. Oh, you believe this, you're a shill, out. And that's what's happening in different types of the truth community in all subjects. If you don't follow the narrative, you're gone. I mean, look at this. I'm talking about the hourglass. It could be the tree of life. The tree, as above, so below. The roots match the tree. It's just so... I'm just so excited. Whether I like it or not, I just like getting things off my chest. I've had this on my chest for so many years. You can see the images. I could have put thousands more, but like I said, we're up to an hour before I even got into my thoughts. And I just want to get my head around, are we in an actual time scenario where there is a heaven above in another type of dome, or is it spiritual? Is there one below us, or is it just metaphorically? Who knows? You know what I mean? It's just something interesting to go about. When you see all of the evidence that I've put in and all the ancient symbols, are these people seeing what they're seeing, or is it just their interpretation like we are doing now? The squatter man has been painted on caves, walls, inside for millennia. We know time is changed. We know we've lost time. I've talked about that in the great vowel shift. Vowel L, the vow to God. They changed the vowels. From the 15th century to the 18th to 19th century, that's when it happened. That was a major reset. And that's when it shifted the calendar. The science has changed. They've got told we lived on the spinning rock. Heliocentrism. All that in this time period. Yet people will still post the same old jargon. Oh, look at this, why is there an I and a J on the door, on the date? If there is a God who's in charge of the calendar, the days, the months, and they swap the Julian to the Gregorian, if I think it the right way around, they moved Janus from the 11th month, his number, to the 1st because they wanted him to be the 1st. Ianus, Janus in Latin. I and J. It's plausible. I don't want you to say, well, it's not a fact. This is just my opinion, but there's something more to think about instead of just saying, oh, it's Greek for Jesus or it's something else. Well, look, I've just found something very, very plausible, and it's proven in the vowel shift, the calendar changes. Etymology only starts from the end of the 12th to the 13th century onwards. They changed the language, especially mainly the English language, which means incubus or succubus. So they're sucking the life out of the speech, and they changed the way we talk and the spells. I've tied it in with the 7 heavens having a password, so we couldn't get through, so we got reincarnated back to purgatory. Are they trying to keep us in purgatory where they want to stay because they are bound, or we let them loose? Is that what the point is? They've let loose what's classed as Satan. He was shut down for 1,000 years, and maybe the time the vowel shift was changed, that was him being released, because all that was done for him. It even says so. You know what I mean? And I've done videos on it. So it's just intriguing, and seeing what your guys think on this. I'm going to finish now. But it was a ride. You saw all the information, and we saw all the maps, and people, like I said, talk about different types of earth. But it's that shape. And the stuff I've not put in, people scream, oh, you should have put this and put it in. Because that's the beauty of it. They're always going to leave something out. But look at the shape. Some people always watch my videos and say, God, I see Janus everywhere now, because you're aware of it. Now look for the hourglass shape or the figure of 8 infinity. See, it's all linked to time. You know, the tides of, the time, fate. The shroud, what they call it, tapestry, and there's all them different types of sayings on what time is. It's a man-made construct. Well, we can see its effects on us, because I've got a few grey hairs, and whatever is controlling time Could it be the fact of Janus? Because I've showed you he's controlling these. Is he evil? Is he bad? Is he neutral? Is he both? If he's like us, people always talk about how we're gods. We can, we are persuasible to both good and bad. Could gods be the same? Could they have egos? These are all things I'm not steadfast on because I don't know. And I'm honest saying, I don't know. I just keep on learning and try and make things a bit clearer for me in this hourglass type of scenario. And we've seen all the shapes, and it's just so interesting, guys. So hopefully I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. See the importance of it, seeing the newest stuff that I've just found on Janus in regard to time and control, and how he's a precursor. Does that mean he's pre-cursed? I've talked about that before in Sigils and the Curses video. So it's an interesting video. It's not fact, it's just a hearsay. It's a big what if, and it's just adding a little bit more of me into a theory that people have talked about for a while. It's not groundbreaking. Some of it is, some of it's not. It's just my take on it. So hopefully you've enjoyed it and you're having a good time. You enjoyed it, no pun intended. And I'll hopefully see you in your chat. Toodaloo. Bye guys, remember, always with a smile. Usually glint. Bye guys, take care. And thank you for your support. It's been nothing but, I always say it, you make me feel humbled. Bye guys, take care.